several male cats. Their average size litter is 4. So if they're mating 2 to 3 times a year, you can imagine how quickly it doesn't take long, 1 year, for one female cat to create a colony in your living area. One cat. So, let's talk about what this is. This is my tool of my trade here, a trap. We do not go out and see a cat run around across the road and go put a trap out. The most effective way for this program to work is work with the people in your borough that are feeding them. The cats look for 3 things: food, shelter, and mates. So that's where we go to trap. And typically what happens is we identify those areas, we go and talk to the people and explain the program. We care about the cats. We don't want anything to happen to them, and the cats are going to come back here. So they need to know that. That's a concern. Most of these people are older, and they care about the cats, and they want to make sure that these cats are going to come back, and they are. Okay, so we get out the traps as part of their feeding station 1 week prior to their appointments. There is no clinics locally, Berks County, that have walk-in clinics. So you have to plan this and make appointments with us. We get this trap out. It's called a Hap Heart. It costs about $80 at a local hardware store. So when we get this trap out, I'm a gardener, so I go and get some bamboo canes. And I put this under here because we're not trapping the cats. We're going to try, it's called trap training. We're training the cats to go into this trap and not be afraid to come in and out when I'm ready to trap them. Okay? So we train and talk to the people that are feeding, and they start feeding at the front of the trap, start moving it in. You see the trip hay here, and the afternoon, evening before the appointment, we put some bait in the very back. I mean, I like to use newspaper because the cat is going to be sitting here on it. And then we put a little stinky bit of tuna fish, mackerel, whatever. There's a trick plate, you can see it. And if we've done our job, Kitty's going to come in here, step on it, and it's going to be trapped. And then we cover Kitty, and we remove it, feed it that night, take it to the surgery clinic where same-day surgery. There, the caretaker that's done this brings the cat to us. Okay, so I've trapped thousands of cats. I have never once been bitten by a feral cat, and I don't want to be because it's not vaccinated. So what happens is when they get to our clinic, when they get checked in, we use a trap divider, get it right in the back, and we pop the cat in the butt, and it's sedated. And we do not touch this animal until it's passed out. Okay? Then our staff reaches in and pulls the cat out. The very first thing we do after that is we scan for a microchip. Because of the cat's microchip, we no longer will do anything to it because it belongs to someone. And we call the chip company, try to get it back home, and if they don't want it back, and it's happened, we will work with our friends in rescue to take the cat for placement. And then the cat is taken out of the trap. It is weighed because everything we do is dependent upon its weight. And then it gets shaved and ready for surgery. And then once it's had a spay, there's a removal of the uterus and ovaries. The reason why we take the ovaries is because that is, if they still keep their hormones, they'll still keep yowling, they'll still go into heat. So we take the ovaries as well as the uterus. And anything that's in there, we do terminate pregnancies. Then they come off the surgery table, and they get fluids. They get a rabies and distemper vaccine. They get parasite-treated fleas, ticks, worms, ear mites, and we tip their left ear. And that's an extremely important part of this process because with people that are feeding more than one cat, we need to be able to visually see that this cat has been already fixed and vaccinated, and that left ear tip is universal. Okay, we can see it. So if you've got a colony of 8 black cats, we need to see an ear tip. Okay? So once the cat is lifting their heads and shoulders, we put them back in here, and the person, it's same day, they'll come pick it up, and we give them post-operative instructions, and then they take it home and release it within the next day or 2. What are the advantages of this program? The advantages are what you're looking for. We want to stabilize the cat population in the communities. And right now, doing nothing is not stabilizing anything. And it does take time. This is not a quick fix. This didn't happen overnight, and nor will the fix happen overnight. This should be an ongoing program for your borough. So stabilizing, if you have relationships with shelters and rescues, you should try to take the kittens out so that those kittens don't become part of the breeding population. Number two, they're vaccinated. It's a public health issue for you. Because these cats are living around you, and now they're protected from getting rabies. Also, what this provides is there's no longer cats yowling and fighting in the middle of the night. They never do it in the middle of the day. They always do it at 2 o'clock in the morning. The females are yowling in heat, and the male cats are fighting for mates, always at 2 o'clock in the morning. So that behavior goes away. Okay? So that's the goal of this program. Here's what we can't do. We can't keep cats from peeing and pooping on other people's property. And that's probably the number one complaint any of you will get from your neighbors. So I'm very big on accountability. And so I believe that we should be working with feeders to create areas on their property, mulch, sand, sprinkles, catnip. The cats will pee and poop on their property. And also, if you're a neighbor and you don't like it, there's ultrasonic solar cat deterrents available on Amazon, really cheap. So there's things that we can do to work as neighbors together so that hard feelings don't start, which does happen, unfortunately. So that's what we cannot do. So this program works. We've actually been working with many municipalities for almost 15 years, and the programs are working. Here's the obstacles that you will have. Money. The cost to do this, our surgery fee has not changed for many years. It's $40 per cat, male and female. That's an obstacle, because many of the folks in your community don't have $40 per cat. That's an obstacle. The other obstacle is that many of the folks in your area that are feeders are elderly. And they started with one female skinny cat, and she came with 4 kittens, and now she's got 20. And she's not able to do the trapping and the transporting. Her claim's 18 miles away on Fresh Valley Road in Reading. We're 18 miles away. So that's where the surgery begins. So that's another obstacle for you. And the other obstacle is education and understanding that this needs to be a part of your community. There needs to be people working together to help those who are not yet grasped this. I ran some numbers. We've had one woman who has consistently been spending her own money in your borough. She brings in about 10 cats a year. That's doing really kind of nothing, though. I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming just from talking to a couple of people here, you've got 3 or 4 large colonies. But 10 is better than nothing. But she's been doing all of your heavy lifting, the trapping and the transporting and the recovery. So I came here tonight because I know it's budget time. And you are not unlike, I want to say this, you are not unlike many municipalities that I deal with. Money's tight, taxes, you don't want to increase, I understand all of that. You have very important decisions to make for this community. So I'm going to throw out a couple of things to you. There's groups that can help come here and trap, but they may or may not be able to supply the money for you. So there's people that can trap, but somebody's got to come up with the money. So my suggestion was for you to consider, our fee is $40, and a lot of our municipalities choose to offer this as an option. They can't afford the 40, but they will pay 25. Have the resident pay 15, which means the $40 threshold. Tilden Township is doing that right now, and it is working out fine for them. Shoemakersville does it as well. So, and I believe Hamburg is doing it, so it stretches budget dollars. I also feel that since our statistics that I just pulled up is you're only getting about 10 cats a year from the borough. Start with 10 cats. Budget for 10 cats. So if you choose to do the contracting at $25 per cat, that's $250. So that helps this nice woman who has been volunteering in your community so that she's not taking the money out of her pocket to do the heavy lifting for your community. So that is my presentation this evening. I would be happy to take any questions.
I don't know. Do they have to go pick up the trap?
Well, we can do a couple of things. Because of the distance from our clinic, we would be willing to loan the borough a couple of traps, but you have to be responsible for making sure that they're in working condition when they come back to you. And we actually do that with a couple of our more rural areas. So we'd be happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Much appreciated.
Thanks.
I would just like to say thank you, and I've had a wonderful experience with your organization over the years.
Thank you.
So,
Well, if there's any way that we can help you, let us know.
yes, and I know you have heard of the Eastport.
We do.
Yes. and-
Several of Berks County. We just had a meeting with Lower Alsace Township. I believe they were going to sign with us as well. You know, I think more and more of the municipalities understand the problem isn't going to go away unless we try to address it somehow. I will say that regardless of what you do, No Nonsense Neutering does offer on our website, we offer two $15 vouchers to anyone from a household. So that can take care of 2 pets. Okay? There's also an organization that's out of Long Island called Stay USA. That information is also on our website. It's a lottery system, and I believe we get checks from them every week, and they have paid up to 20 cats. So that's another option for you guys, but it requires somebody locally to go in and do the application.
Is there any kind of contract you have with you?
Yes, we do. I can send you one.
Okay, if you could, just generally what's involved in that?
Basically, it just says, we are contracting with you for spaying, neutering, and vaccinating of feral cats. We leave a blank space for you to decide what your budget is, how many cats, okay? So let's say you want to do 10 cats, okay? And then what we like to do for accountability purposes is we will provide 10 paper vouchers sequentially numbered so that the person that lives here has to come get them from you, so you know they live in the borough, not in Maxfield, up the road, and they have to get the vouchers from you, and then once the 10-year budget is done, the program is in for this year, for 2026.
So we can't add more to that?
Of course you can. If you can find discretionary funding, and you find that you can, of course, you would just contact me, and we will add whatever it is you want to provide more vouchers.
Well, there may be some residents that want to donate some money.
I think that would be wonderful.
We could certainly put
You know,
something
you
out
guys
there.
can do all kinds of interesting things here. You know, get businesses to sponsor a feral cat and start a fund for next year. There's lots of things that you can do if there's an interest in the community about this. And we'll be happy to work with you about that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate your attention. Thank you.
Is anyone interested in a further conversation regarding this topic of the feral cats?
Feral cats are a huge problem in the world. And I would like to see somehow a miracle happen. We can get a donor, sponsor somehow. There certainly don't have any extra money in the budget.
We're negative by 215,000, so
But I think
today's numbers.
we should definitely look into this because it is a problem for people who pay the full fee when you have 5, 6, 7 cats you're going to try and help with. It's impossible.
We already do, when you said about making like an ordinance or something like, there's already an ordinance about the cats, dogs, and other pets running at large. There are fines, even for cats.
Well, this is for,
If you, yeah, but I'm just saying, it's like, for the people that get tired of their pets and decide to throw them outside, there's a fine for them.
You know, to do that, yeah.
part of the issue is that they end up, those people that live in some of our rental properties, and when they vacate the rentals, then they leave their pet behind and throw it out the door. We've got a lot of large apartment buildings, and that's been a source of any, and of course, the people that just drive through town and decide they're gonna drop off a cat.
There's also residents that decide to do that too, because there are a lot of kittens, so they don't like them.
It's a shame that we don't force some type of chipping so that we can then monitor if a cow is out in the loose, then we can go after somebody if they won't do that. Anyway, all right, let's move on. We've got another agenda here. Also, communications is our next agenda item. I'd like to acknowledge the passing of Eileen Black Rodriguez. She was our Borough of Topton Quality of Life Appeals Officer. She, for those of us who are friends of hers, she was a wonderful lady, and maybe very missed for her contribution to our community. For all that she did. She was a business owner in Topton. She worked here at Borough for many years. And just want to acknowledge her loss. Send our sympathies to her family. Okay, next on the list is accessibility parking space permit application. Does anyone have a copy of that?
So this is for 10 West High Street in Topton, to have an accessible parking space located there.
Do we get medical records to confirm this is accurate? It says on the form that it's required.
Yeah.
I did not include them in your copies, it's in our file in our office that's secure. What I did was give the application, and the backup that I gave was the head tag that is already possessed by the applicant.
That doesn't really, because
Can't put
it
it-
has to be not more than.
But she has-
Not more than 6 months.
Yeah, sure.
But she has the information, so that's why, so I just wanted to know if they met the
We're
requirement.
talking about this.
No, I'm just saying she couldn't put that in public.
Oh, absolutely not, no, Rebecca said, I think.
So just,
So it's dated no more than 6 months prior to the date of this application, Stacy?
The backup documentation, correct.
Great, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion, to make a motion to.
I'd like to make a motion to approve it.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, is there any further discussion on it? Okay, all in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Mayor's report.
We got, obviously Saturday was a parade, I mean, the weather wasn't the greatest, but it appeared like it was a good turnout, and seeing different comments, it seemed like everybody had a good time. And I'd just like to thank everybody that put together the float for the 150th at Topton. It was well done, a lot of people had compliments on it, so job well done. That's all I have.
Hearing of visitors. Yes, if you could please stand, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Crystal, representing the library, 58 Road. Three quick things. The library just received the Gold Star Library status for the 5th consecutive year. And about 140 libraries in the state that achieved that.
Congratulations.
For access information, technology, resources, and services, and encouraging reading. The second is this coming Sunday, the 19th, from 3 to 4 at the high school. The Reading Philharmonic Orchestra will be playing side by side with the high school students. And that is, of course, open for the public, so hopefully you all will come out to that. And we do have a vendor fair coming up the second week, and second Saturday in November. So please join us for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our solicitor. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you raise your hand. Yes, I'm sorry. Could you please, for the record, please state your name and address.
I was just wondering, I know it's asked quite a bit, as negotiations.
Our attorney will respond on that, hit their report. Is there anyone else? Yes, please.
My name is Bruce Weiss, I live on White Street. When are you gonna approve meeting minutes? For how many months you go online, you can't even read meeting minutes? What's going on that you won't approve them? You had a chance tonight, you wouldn't do it, because you have a long meeting.
We have,
We have the right to know that, to read the minutes, and they're not being put on the website so we can read them. What are you hiding on, Elaine?
we're not hiding anything.
Well, then approve some minutes. Minutes haven't been approved for how long? Why? Because you don't want to spend a couple extra minutes here?
We have minutes that need to be prepared, that are in the process of being prepared.
And it takes months to prepare minutes?
It has for our office.
Something's not right.
Well, that was something that we got to discuss with our office.
You're the Borough Council President, I'm discussing it with you. Why aren't the minutes being approved?
Well, this meeting is not for you to ask questions, to make comments. And if you have a comment about our minutes, I will hear your comment. I don't answer your questions.
Yeah, you do, you're the Borough Council President.
No, I do not at this meeting.
Well, I
This is
think
our
the
meeting.
question was answered, they're not ready yet.
Well, how long is it gonna take?
That was,
How can the borough residents know what's going on at Borough Council meeting if you can't read the minutes?
Our meetings are videoed, and they are usually,
Not everybody can access the video. People like to go on and read the minutes. That's what I like to do.
I understand that.
But when you go to the website and nothing is approved, pending approval, what's the problem?
Your comments and concerns are noted. Are there any other questions? Excuse me?
Now, continue your meeting.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, we move on to the solicitor's report.
all right, I'm Andy George, here for Joan. Joan sends her regards, she's somewhere else tonight, I'm not sure where. So regarding the first issue with the Teamsters negotiations, she really didn't give me an update other than it's ongoing. So I don't know what council wants to do with that. If, I know there's a question about it, but if that's when we talked about in executive session, I don't have any update other than it's continuing.
Yes, that's correct, that's all I
I
know.
don't think it would be a problem, Elaine, if you let the residents know where we're at without giving any details. That's all they want.
Well, we are in conversation with the Teamsters.
I mean,
Were those meetings held, down September 30th and October 8th? Is that what those
They were executive sessions.
Yeah.
they were in an executive session, but Elaine, Carol, and Kathy have met face-to-face with their committee, and I feel progress is being made. There's been back and forth between both the borough people and the union people, and I feel there's there's progress. And without giving any details or leaking anything, that's where it's at. But there has been progress, substantial progress, if I may add that.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you. That's basically what you said, so thank you, Scott.
All right, intermunicipal agreements for Luther Meadows and Heilman House. Joan has provided those to the entirety of council. So those are agreements for a couple properties, Luther and Hometopton properties that are currently connected, however, are to be connected in the future individually through the Heilman House, different ownership, and Luther Meadows. So those agreements are being addressed also by Longmont Townships, since that's where the properties are, for both water and sewer service. There will be a purchase of 52 EDUs total between both of those properties. We'll need to amend the Act 537 plan. Those costs will be paid by the developer. Yes?
So we have two different contracts and both of them say separately 52, but it's underlined, is that what that means?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
because we weren't sure what the underlying, I wasn't sure what
Those
the
were,
underline meant.
the underlines are,
Because it says 52, so the assumption was per contract.
oh yeah, you might be right, maybe it is per contract
Okay,
because,
because there, and then,
because each one separately addresses the
right,
particular property, so it is 52 per.
so is 52 a placeholder or is that accurate? Because it seems weird that they're both exactly the same.
I don't know, I don't know the
Okay, I
answer
was
to that,
just-
but
Because if
I
it's
don't know if
underlined, I
it's a
thought was.
placeholder or,
So do we know what the underlining means throughout the contract?
those were additions that were made to, I guess, a draft that was done previously.
But there's still a blank and equating to blank gallons per day.
Yeah, I
So
presume-
that's us.
Yeah, I presume she didn't have, I don't know if the engineer has reviewed this at length yet, but, yeah, obviously the gallons per day needs to be filled in there.
Okay,
So I don't know if it is 52, if that is
yeah,
the number,
okay,
the final.
so this is still being reviewed by us then?
Oh, yeah, it's not like up for a vote tonight, the final draft, it's just an update.
There's
Okay,
also some information missing, it's really just the volume of the document.
I think, if I know Joan, she just wanted to kind of put it on the agenda, keep things moving along, just bring it to council's attention, work in progress.
that's what I was thinking.
The next item, conditional use appeal of the decision regarding 41 West White Street. So I guess since your last meeting, that was appealed to the Berks County Court of Common Pleas. Looks like it was dated, filed September 18th. So that was appealed by Topton Investments LLC, the owner of that property. And the next step would be for Joan and the borough to basically certify the record that was held at the hearing before council to the court. And then it will kind of play out in the court system. I don't know if you guys have had a recent appeal from the zoning hearing board, it works the same way, or from a conditional use hearing. So it goes before a judge eventually, unless it's settled before then. And I'm sure John will be talking to you before that court appearance. So normally legal briefs are filed, arguments are filed with the court to help them out before a decision is made. And it doesn't work real fast either. It's kind of, unfortunately, a slow type of process. But you'll probably hear something from her at the next meeting, and then certainly the one after that, if not the next meeting. Municipal lien claim was filed on 26 South Irvine Drive. This is really just a note for the record that was filed. It's for $1,733 for unpaid water, sewer, and property maintenance charges.
This property's in foreclosure.
Yeah, so that's probably the reason that it was done that way and done quickly, because of the pending foreclosure action. Because a municipal lien claim is really a high priority type claim, so we'll put you in the best position to get paid on that at the foreclosure sale.
So it was scheduled for sheriff's sale last Friday. We haven't heard the status yet.
Actually, that was we were right next door.
Oh, okay.
Actually, just met the owner on Sunday.
So it was purchased?
He did purchase it on Friday.
Okay.
So did we need
No.
to cut off for the?
We made the cutoff, but I don't know if we were in standing to get paid.
Yeah, I would, as long as it was, well, right, it depends on timing, but if it was filed before the sale, you'll be in a real good spot to get paid on that.
Good.
And it's just a matter of running it through the process with the sheriff's office and letting them know. We usually file a claim for proceeds with the sheriff's office now that it's gone through. So I'll make a note of that and get that done.
Thank you.
Yes, please make a note.
Thank you.
Yeah, I knew about the sheriff's sale and they stopped me, I was leaving Saturday, and just being focused, so.
Quite a job ahead of them.
Yeah, and it was all the issues. He actually asked for property line is because they want to bring in some type of big dumpster in between the houses, I was like,
Thank you for that information. Borough manager, will give her report next.
Sure, it's quick. I've been working on the 2026 budget with staff and council, including working with RCAP to complete the water and sewer rate study. There was a zoning hearing board meeting that included a hearing for 26 and 32 North Main Street. That was on council's previous agendas for approval. and council stated that if they received what they needed from the zoning hearing board, then council approval would stand, which they have with conditions, so they're not completed. They have not completed the conditions that the zoning hearing board posed to them in order to get their variance as well as any permits for doing any work on the property. I've been working with Scott Mark on the Hometown Heroes project, including hopefully getting an Eagle Scout to incorporate our ideas into a project regarding the Hometown Heroes banners that are already placed around Topton. I've been working with Mr. Weidman and the Scouts in getting the donation that we've received as a borough to repair the Hope Memorial. It was supposed to have happened, started to happen, but there's been a few delays. There is a final copy of the Park Master Plan on our website electronically, and we have a few that are printed. One is on the counter in the Borough Hall office, if anyone would like to look at that in the future. It'll be there or in our office off the counter somewhere in our library. We submitted our annual MS4 with the help of Barry Eisen and Associates, Christine Milder. The method had changed because DEP is now doing an online submission, but it worked. And thank you to everyone from the fire company to the fire police, to Fleetwood Police, to Berks County Sheriffs, as well as our emergency management coordinator, Steve Klein from the fire company, and everyone else involved with the 911 unit for the parade on Saturday. No incidents, thank goodness. So we appreciate Lehigh Valley Hospital for their mowing of the trailer as well. That's all I have.
Stacy?
Yes.
The last 6 and off to be printed.
Not yet. If you want to check your email, I'd like another set of eyes proofing them before we
Okay.
order the banners.
Could you just give us a brief update on the minutes, since we have concern for you?
Sure, because of a lack of personnel for some time, they weren't even typed yet, they were just drafted. Now they've been typed, now they just need to be reviewed and provided to Borough Council over the next few weeks. We're caught up almost with 2024 and part of, or the majority of 2025.
Thank you.
And just a reminder to everyone, we do have a proposed budget presentation annually. This year's not going to be the second meeting in October, it's going to be on November 10th. Thank you.
Do committee reports. So, Ms. Coker, if you can go first.
Yes.
Environmental and conservation.
Source water protection plan, we have signs that will be going in the Long Swamp to warn people if there's a spill to call and notify, and those are scheduled to be sometime this fall, hopefully those will be installed. MS4, I found a number of children, I'd like to get a few more, to have a class, a STEM class for grade school and the lower junior high classes, so putting that together still, that's all.
Anytime we have time to project or do a class, is it in the future sometime?
November or December.
Personnel and policy. The water treatment plant, we have a position posted. Position continues to be open with no viable applicants. Part-time seasonal public works, I have no updates for that position that we are seeking to fill. And workers' compensation safety policy. The policy was prepared and the business office printed out two pages regarding it. Joan had made some revisions on one page. The other page was the original, very rough draft. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at that? So I would say, just, the business office, could make the changes as per Jones, note 2, and prepare this for our next meeting, and that's a vision, set up to approve.
Possible approval.
Yeah, approval at our next meeting. Agenda for that. This is just something that's necessary that we have for insurance provided. Street committee is coming.
So last week they did Penn and part of Smith were milled and they laid the base layer. Tomorrow and Wednesday this week, they plan to mill the rest of Smith Street and Charles and Pearl. And then Thursday, they'll do the base layer down on those streets. So hopefully, and then next week with weather and everything, hopefully they'll lay the top coat or top layer on Penn, Smith, Charles and Pearl. And then hopefully, weather permitting, they'll move to the west side and start with Hope. And then Marshall and Cecilia are on that list for this year, but that will.
And you think, I'm sorry, which week do you think we'll get started on the west side?
So next week, they're gonna finish up east side, so hopefully after that.
In November, it'll be the last week of.
So that would be
last
2
week
weeks,
of-
yeah, and we're getting down to,
Heat
so,
together.
yeah, so
Gotta be a
hope
certain
is,
temperature.
yeah. But we have our agenda now, so hopefully we'll be incorporated into the co-op's plan going forward.
Are there any other projects that we have to jump on with co-op this year after our?
The co-op is pretty much done, when the weather changes, we can do much.
Anything else for you?
No, good.
Okay, then finance chair, Ms. Hassel.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the list of bills and transfers as you have been provided.
Who'd like to make a motion? Motion.
Sorry.
I'll let the second.
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any discussion you looked at? Okay, all in favor? Motion carries. Community Relations Committee, Ms. Eisenhower.
Nothing new as far as community that hasn't already been said about the parade. For the 150th anniversary, our next meeting is November 13th at 6:30, and all are welcome. Oh, and also, the shirts and the sweatshirts can now be ordered again at Geist's. The name? Pardon?
What's the date?
The date of the meeting is November 13th. And that's it.
Property Committee, Mr. Arnold.
Yeah, I have 2 emails in to see if punch list was even discussed with the people that took the trees down, and I have not received any word back yet. I don't know if you did, Stacy?
They plan on, by the end of this week, smoothing everything out. But it didn't have a punch list attached to the email that was sent by Jacob Schultz.
Okay. I think I might just call the people that bypass Jacob. Pool parking lot is still on hold, and no second hold for the rest of them. That's all I have.
I'd like to see if there's any way we could try to complete doing the work at the pool. Is there any way before the end of this year, weather permitting, that may be possible? Maybe we could look into that. I know there's a permit that we have to renew, which will be part of our engineer's report. Does the council have any thoughts on that this time?
I think Greg
right?
Could do that.
It would depend on what Josh has to say. So, okay, are you done then?
Yes.
The bathroom, are you gonna say anything about the public big restrooms?
We're waiting for the
We're still
second.
waiting for that second quote. Who's that coming from?
A vendor that, the fire company also uses, but, we met with them at the end of August, so it's been some time.
So, and utility committee, Mr. Sins.
Water and sewer bills can come out at the end of the month. We need to leave street paving. Payment plans are available to residents if they need, or if they suggest to get on for due dates of the bills. And there was we had a study done for the water sewer rates from an outside vendor, or an outside company, I should say. I did not have a ton of time to go over this, so I'm gonna actually have Stacy kind of bring everybody up to date on this one. I know you gentlemen have a copy of it. And we can kind of go from there, and make everybody kind of understand what this company came up with.
So thank you, Municipal Authority, for attending tonight's council meeting. You have in front of you 3 pages of almost 80-page study for our water rates and our sewer rates. They are suggesting the rates themselves be increased based on the amount of work of maintenance as well as capital improvements that we need to those systems. By no means, do they make any recommendations? It's all up to us what rates and how to fix them in any way. The water includes the first sheet of what was calculated to be increases to the base as well as the over 4,000 for every 1,000 over the 4,000. The second page of what you have that's in color is entitled Final Analysis. That incorporates how it comes up with the amount of the rates, what they should be. They're based on labor and benefits based on the 2025 budget, and then incorporates cost of living increase for any future years after 2025's budget. It incorporates the newest loan that we have for water and water, and then the sewer incorporates that. It also explains at the bottom of this page 2 how many millions of gallons we use and how much revenue we get for every million of gallons used. And then the third page goes into where the millions of gallons they base the revenue on. They try to do an average, but then go with the lowest year to be conservative and not overestimate what revenue will be brought in by the rates. So it's the similar pages for sewer, so incorporating the new short-term sewer loan. But if you have any questions, council or municipal authority, I would be more than happy to meet with any one of you or all of you, minus the quorum for council, at any time to review what data went into the rate study.
Review this plan on the first page. $18.62 and $10.02. Currently $7.02.
Correct.
Excuse me. And new, maybe that's what their rate study showed we should be doing.
Correct, based on the input data of the 2025 budget of what it takes to operate as well as pay back any loans that we may have. And then to also put money away then for capital improvements, to replace lines, to put money toward the new wells, the secondary well that we need to site and construct in the future.
So that's looking at $11.60.
$11.60 increase for the overage every 1,000 gallons over.
So just to be clear,
Yes.
the data they are giving us is suggesting that for us to stay on top of the costs that we're going to incur for future needs and to cover our current expenses and loan payments. I'll just look at the water portion of this. So we have a water and sewer docket. They're saying that currently the water portion of our bill is $52.20
For the base.
for the base rate, just talking base rate. And we would need to increase the base rate from $52.20 to $108.19.
And this is just the water portion of your bill.
That's what they're saying. Okay, just want to make sure that was clear. That's for residential. And then for the sewer portion of the bill, which is currently our more expensive part of the $150, $145.80 that everyone pays as a base rate, the sewer portion of your bill currently is $93.60. And they're suggesting through this study that portion of the bill be increased to $106.55.
Right, so the difference between per quarter, not per month, per quarter, would be from water to $11.60 per base.
No.
Base.
No, that's the one
That is it.
thousand.
That's why I'm confused, because
Yes,
that's why.
so basically, what this report is saying,
Right.
from what I'm getting, just please correct me if I'm wrong, I just want to make this clear to the public, what this RCAP study is saying, is that our current base rate for water and sewer quarterly, which is $145.80 per quarter, is that correct?
Correct, for residential.
Would now be, according to what they're saying we need, we go to $214.74 for the base rate. Then what they're saying is, Scott, stuff like what you just said, they're saying that the additional amount, $1,000 gallon, would be that what's in that top line. That it would go up to, would go up $11.60 more than we're currently paying. So it would be for every $1,000 over for water only, would be $18.62 per 1,000 gallons.
For every 1,000 over.
For every 1,000 over, but then you also pay for the sewer 1,000 over, which would then be $21.69. So that means that you're looking at so they're saying it would be for every $1,000 gallons over, you would pay an additional $40.31. That would crush
So this is based
the
on,
community.
this is based on 50% of your costs being paid for by the base and 50% of your costs being paid for by the overage.
Right, but these are not my numbers or anything
No,
on these council.
no.
This is an entity that came in here and did a whole stuff.
Now, before we had this, we had PFM, our financial advisor, who gave us a loan for the improvements that were needed to lines in our town for the water system, and we had improvements that were needed for the Washington Street pump station. And we had TFM give us numbers. They ran a bunch of different scenarios here on.
Do we have that? You have that number?
Did you give them
The PFM, no,
This is
I can't get them for you,
Yes,
though.
you should have a copy of
They
this.
weren't official, they were only based on,
They did some studies for us based on what, the amount of money we needed to borrow, and in order to pay that back, and here's some interesting information. They did some data on if we did nothing and did not increase our water and sewer rates, by 2030, we would be negative approximately $60,000 if we didn't raise the rates between now and 5 years out. Then they did a projection showing different increases and how that would pay off the debt to cover the loans that we are paying to repair infrastructure. And they showed different projections, and you definitely need to see this. They're saying in some of their projections, if we increase the rate, in one projection, they say if we increase the rate by 20% in 2026 and then 6% every year thereafter, that by 2030, we would have a positive cash amount of $167,000. So they have a couple different scenarios here. What we could do to try to minimize. Now, if you recall, Michelle Stout, when she had been on our council, she had done some research on the water and sewer rates. And she had found some very interesting information. She found that our commercial and industrial rates were between 80 and 200 times less than going commercial and industrial rates for other municipalities and authorities in our area. And the plan a few years ago when this was discussed was that we increased our rates in the second quarter of 2024. And we increased the commercial rates by, was it 50%, right? And the plan was to incrementally step them up, and we hadn't decided. We were going to step them up to be another 50% increase, still keeping them below what surrounding municipalities are paying. And that was a very difficult amount of information for her to gather because we charge for every 4,000 gallons. Some municipalities charge by 1,000 gallon rates. Some municipalities bill monthly, some bill quarterly. So there were so many variables to trying to figure out the information. It was extremely difficult. And what she found was that Topton was actually, the residential rates were actually at the high end, and our commercial and industrial rates were at the low end. And I actually have some information I could share with you that she's given me, if you'd like to have that, to look at that.
you probably have the majority of it from our last discussions.
And that was from February. That was on February, I think this information was from February of 2025. That would have been from last year. This is really harsh. So we have to come up with something, guys.
Well, when we spoke last time, just the three of you gentlemen here before, we had other proposals, which were nowhere near as harsh as that. So, there are copies of that out there for people to look at. Bottom line is, it's a failing infrastructure. It's the bottom line. Everybody's gonna be up in arms about it, and I understand that, I live here too. But I can tell you, everybody in this room is gonna get really upset the day they can't run the water and flush your toilets. So, decisions have to be made. Being parades are nice, fireworks are great. Not being able to flush your toilet, that's a problem. So I think everybody needs to get at that point understood. That there are failing or about to be failing systems in this borough. They're old and they have not been touched in years. And they're slowly piecing them together. The guys do a good job. They piece it together as best as they can. But everybody knows if you piece it together, eventually it's going to break again. It's more expensive.
we have a couple other things that are part of what happened here. And that is in the past, the way our money was managed, that when there was a shortfall in our water and sewer accounts, we have 3 separate funds, we would take tax dollars. Our former manager was not allocating the expenses properly and would put tax dollars into our water and sewer, and certainly if I'm misspeaking, please let me know, to balance the budgets for years. Stacy's reallocated things or expenses so they're more accurate and true to each fund. So that changes the dynamics of the financials for each of our funds, our water and our sewer fund, are more accurate than they've ever been. We have a lot of things we gotta dig out of from the past. The other issue is that back when COVID hit, we were given a bunch of grant money from the federal government called ARPA funds. And those funds are what helped float us through some of the deficits in our water and sewer account. We put $100,000 into the sewer account for water in 2023. And then we put the balance of money that we had from that grant, which could be used in these events, into the sewer account. Now, we don't have that money anymore. And now, by the way, the Washington Street pump station, I've done some research, that has been a failing system in our town for over 12 years. That the borough knew that was a problem, and we are just now getting around to fixing it. And that could take several years to, we're hoping by the end of this year, we can get.
We started 4 years ago.
We started 4 years ago trying to get funding, but this is something that could have been addressed over the last 12. And it's starting to be addressed, and we fortunately got a grant for 300.
Using the balance of the ARPA funds, which is approximately $86,000. And then we have a grant from LSA.
Yeah.
I don't have it right in my switches.
So this is just so everybody understands. A lot of people have said, hey, we don't know what's going on. I personally, this is kind of my area. I want everybody to know what's going on. I'm as good as the information which I received, just like everybody else is up here. The information I received for the 7.5 months that I've been sitting here, this is where we're at. So it's either, it's got to be done. Again, I always come back to it's a broken record. These people will tell you every time I'm in this room, I say the same thing. The minute you can't drink your water, flush your toilet, it's Armageddon. So something's got to be done.
$189,225 LSA grant.
And just as a reminder, we borrowed an additional $300,000 for the sewer fund to fund the remainder of the Washington Street pump station. And we took out a loan for a little over $700,000 to fix those transite pipes that are pipes from the 60s that are breaking under the streets, Keller Street, Cleveland and Franklin. So, and those things have to be repaired within the next 3 years as the criteria to our loan. So that was $1 million we borrowed between those two funds, and then we also borrowed an additional $1 million, which isn't costing us any additional money for the road over the paving, because we're using the liquid fuels money, a portion of that, to pay that money. About $50,000, I think, of that is being used roughly to cover the cost of that loan. And that's going to be for the next 13 years that loan has to be paid. We're going to do the work within 3, but it's going to take us a 13-year payback for these roads being overlaid. So we have so many things that are needed in this town. The water and sewer, we only have a very small system. There's according to this, we actually have more, so we had 991 users of our water and sewer system. I thought we were more like 925. Did they say that on this water, our capital?
It's not approximately 920.
I thought it was around 925-ish, but somewhere in there. So we have a very small system, so that's why we have such large. If you go to the Fleetwood, and they have over two times the amount of users of their system. Their rates are less because we have more cost to bear as a smaller municipality. So anyway, I don't want to keep going, I just want to give you the background. Is there any questions from anyone here?
I'm just wondering, has anyone applied to Natural somebody, or has somebody dedicated to looking at grants for?
We have some of that money we do have some grants, especially for Washington Street Station.
And more. But they don't always get approved.
And we also have in the works, which we're cutting down trees in our forest areas so that we can generate some revenue. We're hoping to get, hopefully 90,000, we don't know, in revenue. That money is going to be used because we need to put in a backup well somewhere in our town. We're looking at the land where the fire company is. And that is being put in as a backup in case our primary wells ever get contaminated to our town, and we all cannot use the water from our primary water source. So we have to, after we've investigated, we've already invested in 2019, we did a study, a feasibility study on where we could put a backup well in case to protect ourselves from a major catastrophe if we ever have contaminated water. And the only site that was viable was near the fire company. We've just done tests on that to make sure that we had to blow through $100,000 or more to just test and do what we need to make sure that site was viable. Now, we're gonna have to go through the expense of putting in infrastructure to be able to use that site as a backup well should we ever need it. And that's gonna be in the near future. And how that's gonna get paid, we're hoping to get additional grants. That's why I brought that up. I'm hoping. Okay, now,
So the next steps for this, next steps with our relationship with the municipal authority and discussing this in the future.
I have a question. The contractor is looking on, could we have a copy of that? Draft copy.
You can have the draft, I was going to get them to you before they're finalized and given to Montauk Township.
Because it would be nice, the nice person I'm hearing about, this contract, this draft.
we just received it, but I would actually like
The
to.
authority is a party to that, so yes, you should have it.
Oh, we don't?
I know, I'm saying you should, because you're gonna have to have input and sign off on it.
And we're gonna have input on the rate increases, so.
I would like to, if possible, have the council meet with the three of you to discuss all this in a little more detail, if that's possible, Stacy. Maybe you could meet with Stacy, we could find some dates that we could all get there and kind of go through this RCAP information that we just received tonight. Make sure you get copies of the scenarios that our financial advisor gave us, and maybe we have to come up with a plan to address the need for financials to pay the debts back that we borrowed to repair the systems. And we've got to put in place, unfortunately, some kind of increase to our water and sewer rates. So we should have a meeting, I think, within the next 3 weeks, I would think, because we have to do something to vote on something before the end of the year.
Did the study look at all of those? The study for a rate study does not look at other similar systems. What it does is it looks at your costs and your revenues and how many gallons are used.
PFM did look at some surrounding municipalities when they did their water research.
Who paid for the three?
The RCAP was free.
Okay. What's that?
This one was free.
Yeah, our county's was free.
Okay, so Stacy, you'll meet with them to come up with some tentative dates so we can get together as one. Okay, we're done with that topic?
And that would be a joint meeting?
Yes, that should be with all of us.
Yes.
Please, if you could, please. We gotta figure this out. And we're running out of time to figure this out. Next on the list is our engineer, and Josh, you are new to us, so you're welcome. If you could please give us a.
Thank you.
Thank you for the information.
Absolutely. Hello everyone, my name's Josh Fry. I'm taking over for Charlie as representative for Professional Engineering Services, very active associates. We'll be supporting you throughout all of your ongoing projects and new projects that come up. You have an engineer's report in front of you. I will run through high-level updates for each item. Feel free to stop me at any point if you have any questions. I did receive some questions beforehand. Thank you for forwarding them to me, Stacy. And I will touch on those in a minute. Starting with the water supply flow that we were just discussing. Current status is the water testing of a water sample that was taken at the fire station was completed. What we were doing with that sample was checking for contamination, potential contamination from the nearby gun range. So we want to make sure there weren't any heavy metals in that water that would be difficult to treat, because we don't want to pull water out that we don't have the capacity to treat. The testing did come back. Our environmental team looked at it and confirmed that there are untraceable amounts of heavy metals except for 2, and of those 2, they were well below the DEP limits. So they're not at the level where DEP would require us to treat them anymore. In other words, there is no evidence of negative impact from the gun range on the groundwater in that area, so we don't have any concerns moving forward with replacing the water in that area. I know Councilwoman Falcone mentioned that we're about $100,000 into this. Ultimately, once we get to the point where DEP approves us to drill a well in this location, that's when we're expecting to be at about the $100,000 mark. We're nowhere near. We're well under that. I know in the last 6 months, I think it's been about $2,000. And I can get the numbers from that if anybody's interested in that. But we're still at the smaller feasibility study. We're putting together our application to DEP. DEP requires a lot of information from us before they will even consider talking to us about drilling a well somewhere. They're very sensitive about that, but we should have an application good to go in the next month. And then the next step will be drilling test wells and making sure we can actually get the yield out of that that we need to serve the Borough as a secondary. I know that for each task, that requires approval from Borough Council members. At this point, we are not quite ready to move on to the next task. That's going to be when DEP says, you guys are good with choosing, and that's when I'll come talk to you. So that's the update for that. Nothing major to discuss at this point. Unless anybody has any questions. Jumping on to item 2. This is a relatively new issue. This is a sidewalk at M&T Bank. While the contractor was doing some routine sidewalk replacement, they unfortunately discovered that that is not a standard sidewalk. A portion of the sidewalk that crosses Toad Creek there is actually cast as part of that culvert structure. The sidewalks are extended off of the culvert, and there's nothing underneath them. When the contractor went to demolish that portion of the sidewalk, they actually punched a hole straight through the sidewalk and discovered nothing but water underneath. At that point, they contacted the borough, they stopped work, they did the right thing, they didn't try to cover it up, they notified us of what was happening, and then they actually took the extra step of, at their own cost, replacing metal plating over the damaged area to keep people from tripping or things from accidentally falling through the hole. We did have concerns when they put that up about that metal plating becoming slip when it's wet. It does have grip on it, but when it's wet, sometimes it's more slippery, so we requested them to put up signage warning the public that it may be slippery. Some signage was put up, but as Councilwoman Hassler has pointed out, it is a very small sign, and it's not in bright colors.
It's like this big, and there's a ledge there, a cement ledge. It is on a pole on this cement ledge. It's about that high. It's on a pole.
worse than twice a day, otherwise.
It's the sign, yeah, it's like up there, you're not gonna be, and it's a tiny sign.
And that's great feedback. We can pass it on to the contractor and see if they have any different signs that they're willing to put up. Honestly, if we want to talk about risk to the borough, and maybe with the borough considering closing that portion of the sidewalk. We have that temporary plate in there so that if anybody ignores the closure, the consequences will not be too bad. But you could potentially run pedestrians through the parking lot in that specific area. You could close it off and have detours on those side streets. So it's something we can discuss. I'm sure the contractor would be willing to work with us on that. But that would be my potential recommendation to your concern. But we will, I really want to talk to the contractor about putting the conditions on.
I mean, any idea when they can finish this?
So the current status of this is they came to us and said, what do you want us to do? But that is risk to the borough if we direct them to do something else. So we told them, you need to contract a licensed engineer to evaluate the status of this and provide a recommendation of how you would like to fix this problem that we've created. We met at the job site about a week and a half ago with their engineer. And their engineer actually brought one of their experienced bridge inspectors out, and they both went down into Toad Creek and took a lot of pictures and examined both below and above to kind of figure out what was going on. That's how we determined that this sidewalk was formed as part of the bridge structure. It wasn't a separate entity at all. And they also determined that, and I saw these pictures too, that culvert is in relatively poor shape. I think it's about 110 years old, and the water takes a 90-degree turn right as it enters the culvert, and that corner of the culvert that water hits is in very poor shape. The reinforcement is corroded. A lot of the bonds and the cement have broken down due to erosion. So this is not necessarily something that we need to solve today, but it's something we should keep on our radar because that is a culvert with a major PennDOT road to go through. So the good news is the applicant M&T Bank has had an engineer come out to do an inspection, and we asked them for a copy of their inspection report. So at no cost to the borough, we should get an inspection report out of that for that big structure where we can have that records to help us make decisions on moving forward. Now, while we were at the meeting, the engineer and the applicant verbally said that what they would like to do is replace just the section of sidewalk that is currently clean and leave the rest as is. So originally they were going to replace that whole stretch of sidewalk on the side of the bank. Now they're saying this is a can of worms that we're not financially prepared to deal with. We don't want to touch the rest of the sidewalk because we don't want to damage your bridge structure and cause lots of issues. So we're going to fix what we broke and we're going to leave the rest as is. They verbally talked me through a plan for essentially patching that section with drilling into it, adding reinforcement that's protected from corrosion, and then pouring it with special forms. It is a method of structure repair that I've seen before, so I think it will work, but we need to see something formal and I want to see what they're going to use, I want to see what products they want to use, and make sure we're comfortable with it. So we've not seen that.
Judge, came on this after it's been in progress for a long time. They did not get a permit before they started drilling. So when they want to cry poor that they can't fix things.
Well, they are fixing it, which is good, because I've seen different contractors respond different ways, and I think it could be going a lot worse. But I did hear that initially they did not have a permit. But my understanding is eventually they did get that permit. Even though it's later than they should have.
Yeah.
Moving on, I know we already touched on MS4. That report was submitted. Our MS4 lead, Christine, worked with Stacy on that, and that has been completed for the year, which is great news. There's a couple of other notes on here for your reference. Item C is a couple of MS4 related events that are coming up in the area. Any of you are interested in pursuing those. Moving on to one of the major projects that's come up, number 4, Washington Street Pumping Station project. There's two parts to this project as we have it right now. One is the equipment. So the equipment contract has been awarded, and we have received the submittals and approved the submittals. There is a change order in front of you tonight from the contractor. The change order actually reduces the cost of the contract. Through our shop drawing reviews, going back and forth with the supplier, we've determined that there is just one small adapter that is not needed. There's no reason for us to have it. So we've asked them to remove it. They are removing it, and it's reducing the overall cost of this equipment portion of the contract. And that's what's in front of you today.
Okay, we should make a motion to approve that right now, so someone would like to make a
I'll
motion.
make the motion to approve the change order.
Do a second? Okay, thank you, Scott. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you. We will notify the vendor of that. And we are working with them to get invoices sent our way as soon as possible, so that we can apply some funding that will expire soon. So we're having this discussion with them. The construction portion of this project is currently, I would say, 1 month behind schedule from what was shown on the last engineering report. But it is top priority. Our water sewer team is working on it currently. We need to set up one meeting with the borough just to make sure everybody's on the same page as we transition from Charlie to myself. We want to have a sit down and make sure we're giving you guys exactly what you need, but there's nothing that's lost in translation. As soon as we have that meeting, it's full steam ahead on the plans and the bid package. We're going to get that bid package in front of you as soon as we possibly.
So you said a month behind, so
Yes.
what are we looking at as far as our readiness to getting started?
Yep, so right now, the big linchpin is surprise DEP. It's a pain. And that DEP oftentimes is faster than that, but they stay online until 120 days. And it's more of a stormwater permit. This is like the well or the filter media, this is a separate permit. But that's something we have in the back of our mind that we have with the scheduling we have here. And then as soon as we have this meeting and confirm the scope, then my technical expert will be able to look at the current state of the plans. We believe they're about 60%. We believe the specs are closer to 90%. As soon as we have that meeting, we can confirm those numbers, and then we'll be able to finish them up. You see, so I personally would really like to have this bid package in front of you guys at the next meeting. I'm going to tell you 2 meetings from now.
We were originally told that this would already be under construction.
Yes.
So by now.
Yeah, we were told that, what was it, September, we would see everything start.
Would be on property.
When I picked up this report, when I adopted last month's report, that's what I saw, is that it was to be under construction now. And I'm telling you honestly, we were not. I'm not happy to tell you guys that. And I'm sorry that I have to tell you guys that, but I'm not gonna be rude. I'm gonna tell you guys how it is, and we're doing our very best to get this to where it needs to be, because I understand this is a high priority project.
120 days to get approval, was that already submitted? We started the 120 days?
We have not started the 120 days, and that is a maximum, so they commit to have it done by.
So we're probably looking at 4 months yet to get this whole thing
Under construction.
under construction.
Yes.
We're looking at spring.
I agree.
Oh, that's not.
Thank God we got that second pump welded, so that's at least a functional operating pump.
Because it does go out.
Yeah.
Does not keep pumping.
Yeah.
That's why this was supposed to be like a really high priority thing.
Yeah, I understand, and I wish I could explain why the schedule was as it was on previous reports. I cannot explain that, but I can tell you that significant progress has been made on our end. The schedule just may have been misrepresented to you guys.
Thank you.
unless there are any additional questions, I'll move on to the wastewater treatment plant chlorine contact chamber. I believe this has been discussed in the previous meeting, but just a little bit of background history. We did receive bids, but there were some surprises with those bids. One was the contractor we reached out to get their opinion on cost for this project did not bid on this project, which is very rare in my experience. The second one is we got 3 bids, and a big question from you is
I've never.
the spread on the bids was very wide. So we had one bid around 400,000. We had another bid closer to 200,000.
It's $228,000 difference between the highest bid and the lowest bid.
Yes.
Never seen that big of a spread
So
for the exact same thing.
yes. So far be it from me to try to untangle the ways of contractors. They always surprise me. However, my best guess and what I've seen before is contractors will bid on things hoping that nobody else bids on them. Contractors will bid on projects essentially saying, well, I mean, if we did it for this much, we'll cancel that other project, right? They don't want to pass up an opportunity, so they'll give you a number where it's so good that they'll take their team from over there and move it to yours. So that may be why we see that exceptionally high. What we would do with those typically is throw them, because we understand that the contractor isn't serious about this. They're just hoping that we're desperate enough.
Okay. Thank you. Anything throughout the 200,000 also, or no? No, throw out the 400. Just 400.
So across the board, I think we all agree we're higher than where we want to be. We're higher than where we expect. So we have a couple options moving forward. And I'd love to hear feedback on where the borough would like to go. One, we could put it out to rebid, kind of like fishing. Maybe the last catch was a bad cast, bad timing, for whatever reason, contractor books are full, we can put it out again, and hope that contractor that talked to us previously bids on it, and we get the number that we're expecting, maybe things in the market will change. Option 2 is we can take the time, we can set a meeting with these contractors and dig into it a little deeper and say, is there a miscommunication? What are we missing? Why are we in the position we're in? Because this isn't a wrong. And option number 3 is to table this project. So those are 3 paths forward that the borough can take. We're here to support you whichever direction you would like to head with this project.
Stacy, can you tell us about this project and its?
We have a grant that would need to be considered. The grant itself was $57,295. Our match for it was $8,755, for a total of $66,050. So if we consider the other options, we have to consider that amount of funding, the only amount of funding that we have. It's not ours. Speaking to Alex, I think would help, to see what he thought the project may be compared to what the bids came in to be done. And maybe we can piggyback that on the meeting that we have about the Washington Street Pump Station. Discuss both at the same time with Alex.
Absolutely.
Time saver. That would be he's an expert about his point of contact tank.
Absolutely, you should be involved, so we need to get something going here. This has been, and do we have a risk of losing this grant? Is there a timeline?
There's always a timeline. I can look and see. It's usually 3 to 5 years, so I can look at it.
Oh, we just got that, that was like a year ago, we got that.
I will look at that deadline and report back. I'll send council an email.
Is there any additional questions? I will move on. Item 6 is the Oak Alley project, Callowhill Street, Holland. This project is substantially complete. DCNR has done their walkthrough of the project and accepted it. We are in a situation where there's actually almost $30,000 remaining in the original grant funding that the borough had for this project. Our landscape architecture team has spoken with the contractor and working closely with them. If the borough would like to, there is an option to use those remaining funds to add additional things. The contractor has actually been nice enough to put together and say, all right, you have this much money left, this is what you can get. And what you can get is they will plant some more trees along the pathway and throughout the park. They will add some split rail fencing on the outside of the existing rain garden. And they will add 2 concrete paths where benches could be placed if the borough has 6-foot benches that they're not using elsewhere overlaid to be. So if that funding is there, and it could be utilized via a change order to this contractor. The contractor has told us that this is what they'll do for this amount of money. It's fully up to the borough if they would like to pursue this opportunity or just accept this project as is.
They're gonna charge $29,000 to put 2 cement slabs and a split rail fence around the rain garden.
And that is what they presented to us.
For $29,000.
Correct.
Also trees.
I do have enough trees.
I agree with you, that's not that.
That's, even with trees, that's astronomical. That's ridiculous.
So that's money that isn't gonna, that's not our cost. What is our cost? Because you're not free, right? So this doesn't
That's
include
correct.
your cost. We have no money, so.
Correct. So for this project specifically, a portion of our fees was free. However, that has been used up throughout the course of this project. So the amount of money that it would take for us to administer this change order and oversee this remaining work would be in the cost.
And do you have an idea what that would be?
I believe.
The previous estimate that we got in early August was $2,900.
$2,900.
Would be that.
To use up 29,000.
Yeah, question is,
I can't justify it. I cannot justify it.
yeah, I mean, do we need more trees?
We don't need any more trees.
And really, our budget is $215,000. We already had discussion about a salt spreader for $1,200. That is something that, I mean, that's more of a priority than trees and
The
$2,900.
salt spreader was purchased, that's your.
I'm just saying, that's an expense that we have to tussle with because we are negative in our budget.
I mean, I just can't,
We don't have revenue to even better.
justify spending $2,900 to spend $29,000. Whether that's our money or not, I understand it was a grant, but $29,000 for 2 slabs.
I understand
And
everything's
fence.
crazy on commercial, yes, I'm
Can
sorry.
the change order include the cost? Did they come down on the cost of it, include the 2,900?
We've already used the money that we can use out
No,
of this
we
grant
can't,
to pay for
government
engineering.
stuff and grants and money,
Yeah, no,
there's all these regulations.
Yeah,
It's a good question. It would be great for us if we could do that.
We could only use X number of dollars for the engineer out of this grant. Yeah.
So we have a lot of benches.
Benches are back here. I was just looking at some of them that are back here.
We have a lot of benches.
They look fine. And there's others that
They should go on a contract that would have something to hold them in.
you don't really need concrete plant. They had talked about using rebar and putting rebar around the bottoms of the benches and knocking it into the ground so that the benches cannot be stolen.
Right, so the question before us is, do we want to move forward with this or not? Do we want to just end this now without?
If we cut back and use just a little bit of it, I don't know how percentage-wise that affects your expense engineering.
All of the work has to be done by the contractor, and the contractor, I believe, is only in agreement if all of it will be done. Why come if they're only
It's not
gonna
gonna
do
come
$5,000 worth of work?
All right, then let's make a motion to, make a motion, we can have a discussion. So let's make a motion to, on this topic here, to not use the remainder of this. Someone make a motion,
I'll make the motion to not use the remainder of this money.
and then second. Okay, Scott Stuff with a second, that now could be open to discussion further, Carol.
I think concrete pads are good because if we get muddy season and start sinking in, the rebar is good for sealing. That's good.
I'm sure that if we talk to our public works gentlemen, I'm sure that they would be able to,
They could do it. I wonder,
cement slabs down.
does anybody know the cost of a band of cement these days? I heard it's way high, but I haven't done it.
I don't know. Why don't you smoke?
We can do it, yeah, that's not anything that's like,
We could do it, but we're not gonna use these funds, this 29,000. If our in-house staff does the work, we cannot use this 29,000.
right, make a plan,
Right.
what else?
Nothing really has anything to do with it, but what me and Stacy learned last week, there's a lot of Eagle Scouts coming up, and that could be also be a project.
What's the price
That's a
of
great idea.
cement, the concrete, ingredients to make the
Well,
concrete?
if an Eagle Scout does it, they gotta raise the funds, it's all
Yeah,
part of
Eagle
their Eagle
Scouts,
Scout.
I never read that at all.
And we already have the benches.
We already have the
Yeah, we
budget.
have the benches, that's great, yeah.
Okay, I'm looking up a bag of cement. I'm really happy thinking that. An 80-pound bag of quickcrete concrete mix. $5.98.
Wow, for how many pounds?
80 pounds of quickcrete. For a 60-pound bag of quickcrete, $4.48. It's not that expensive.
So that was for real bunches, is everything. Yeah, because I thought I had an idea about that.
Well, our guys heard
That
that.
would be another reason.
We don't have a motion on the
So, let's take a
Last I heard, all the, because I asked for something else, and they said all the Eagle Scouts already have their projects. There are only 4, and they all have their projects already.
Well, that isn't what I was told last week.
Okay, good. Maybe they have somebody moved from another troop or something. Good. Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of not approving the spending of this additional money? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That concludes our business on that.
Understood, I will move on. Just a quick note, the master plan update has been completed. Hard copies have been delivered to the borough offices along with electronic copy. But I believe will be out, so.
It's on there.
Final 2 items. First, grants. And a question from Councilwoman Hassler. If the second Barclay grant has been submitted. The first one was back the 2022 cycle. The second one has been submitted. It will be in April. We have not heard back on the status of that yet. Typically, we would not hear back by now. And we're seeing across the board pretty much everything regarding where it's delayed by the freeze in the state budget. So likely regarding grant announcements, it's not that the money's going away, it's just that we don't know who has won and lost.
Yeah.
They're not going to announce that until the budget is finalized. So waiting on the legislature. And then regarding the pool demolition, I have a question from Councilman Falcone. If we can continue or the continuance of the old DEP permit, or we'll have to apply for a new one. I do have a request in about that. I've not received an answer yet, but I will get the answer as soon as I possibly can.
That was already approved, right?
The original, yeah, there was a permit that was approved, but over a certain amount of time when you're doing construction, if you start construction, it does lapse after a certain amount of time. So we would be in the back stage, and we would just need confirmation from DEP if they would allow us to reopen the permit as is.
Do you have any idea how long that process takes?
I can't do that.
Okay, please do, thank you.
Yep. I appreciate all your time. I know it's a lot. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Did you do anything about the media permit?
Thank you for the reminder. The media permit, we completed all that we could complete last week. There was some information we needed from the borough. Scott did a great job. I was just reviewing. I just received that information back from him this evening. So this week we will fill out the rest of the permit and get that over.
Thank you.
I appreciate it very much.
Do you know how long it was for the permits to be approved?
I want to say 90 days, but I'll get back to you.
Okay.
There's so many different permits. I don't want to misrepresent.
It's okay, that's okay, you don't have to get that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes your report. Josh, thank you very much. Old business. Hometown Heroes update, we had that already, so that's over. And then Topton Borough Preservation Board.
Casey, did he send you the dollar amount?
Not since the August statement, so nothing has changed.
No update.
No update. And then ongoing law enforcement options, we're exploring additional options to do our due diligence for the community regarding some options since our Cleveland police contract is not renewing. So is there any update, Guy or Scott?
I contacted Albertus with Borough
Yeah,
Manager
that was in the past.
and Police Chief. They are not interested, they actually do not have the staffing. But basically they're not interested.
Okay, all right, well, let's see if we have an update next week. So, is there anything else on council that you would like to discuss?
Will we supposed to approve Washington Street on the station equipment location for the buy permit change order number 1?
That was a change order we discussed.
We did?
Yeah.
They were supposed to approve it. It was approved. There was a vote.
I may have sent it out of order.
Okay.
Is there anything else that we need to discuss? Is there any discussion if we decide to have a meeting? That's something we can discuss at our next, we're gonna have our next meeting be a budget meeting,
November 10th.
that would be November 10th. There's nothing else this month, isn't there?
If the municipal authority is available on the 28th, that could be the joint meeting
Because
between council and the municipal authority to discuss the rates.
Because
To be
we would
advertised.
normally have a workshop, a budget workshop meeting like the second meeting in October, which would that be around the 28th?
Yes, it's the 28th.
Okay, so, let's,
27th, I'm sorry.
okay, so, all right, so, October 27th, we should have a budget meeting to discuss water and sewer, because those are the two things we actually did not really go over in detail when we talked about the budget, the last two budget meetings, three budget meetings. So we will have that meeting on the 27th, hopefully we can arrange it then. And that would be at 7 p.m. And, is there any other, do we want to also wait for that meeting before we have any other meetings to talk about?
I believe that's what council had agreed to, correct?
We had a discussion about maybe having an extra meeting, like for the public to meet to discuss our budgetary, situation, so, I guess we can decide about that on the 27th, see where we're at with things at that point. That might be better, because then we can have an idea on water and sewer rates and any changes to our budget. We have to balance our budget by November the 10th, is that what the date is?
That's the proposed budget.
Budget, we have to have a balanced budget, we gotta figure out what we're doing, so let's set it for October the 27th, our next meeting.
And if we don't, we shut down lights at the.
Shut down like the government, that's it, I hope not. We can't post a budget that's not balanced, and we are out around a substantial amount of money, so we've got to make some decisions on how we're going to address that. Are there any other questions? Okay, a motion to adjourn the meeting. I second it. All in favor?
My goal is for